It's such a pleasure to be here today and to welcome fastIEP as one of our Case Platinum sponsors. We are so thrilled to be working with fastIEP and be able to bring their resources to our followers, our members. I can't say just members because we have so many people that follow us other than just our members. And we thank you for the resources that you provide. The first time I saw their program, I was just thrilled at how it can sing and dance with data. I know those of you who are watching this for the first time, I wouldn't be surprised if we have some that came back from the first webinar we did just to learn more. It's a very impressive software program. I wish I would have known about it when I was a director in one of my school districts. So I won't talk anymore because I could probably just go on and on, but I will turn it over to Dr. Ned and his staff at fastIEP. And again, thank you so much for all you do for Case, for supporting us, and we'll let you get started with the great information.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I've displayed the poll results. Yeah, that's quite a revelation, and I think it really underlines exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So, Dr. Sahin, before we get started, I just wanted to, yes, some people who've been in our previous webinars might know you, but for those who don't, Dr. Sahin is a neuroscientist, and he has a PhD in neuroscience from Harvard, as well as a master's in neuroscience from MIT, where he studied cognitive neuroscience. Before that, he did his bachelor's at Williams College and also spent a year at Oxford University. He did his postdoctoral work at the Salk Institute in San Diego. And he sort of made the transition from academia to inventor because he felt that there are wonderful people working in academia, working on very long-term kind of root cause, what's going on in the brain with different neurodiverse populations, but he really wanted to do something immediately that could help. And so one of those products is fastIEP. So I'll kick it over to you, Dr. Sahin. Today's topic is specifically about the fact that we recently did a survey, and we got some results that may be a little bit shocking to the administrators of special education here, and what we can do about that. So without further ado.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the background and the glowing words. And then thank you to everyone here really for attending, but also for your service out there on the front lines. Your service is needed now more than ever. This is really a time of emergency for so many of our nation's kiddos and their teachers, especially the students with unique brains who really have had a particularly tough time. So I'm a brain scientist. I did my training in cognitive neuroscience, as we heard, and I've devoted that to helping empower people who are differently abled through my scientific research, and then also through inventing technological tools that can unlock the true potential and let people who would otherwise be held at bay from full integration into society to thrive. So I know that this is a time of dire need. This is a time when our nation's most deserving youth have had their education and their brains put further at risk and further traumatized. This is because of the many setbacks, of course, we've experienced recently. And furthermore, our teachers are quitting. So many are just reaching burnout and irrevocably leaving the profession. That's really sad and scary. And it's also for each teacher, maybe 20 more students for whom another adult left or abandoned them. So we want to avoid that. And tensions are really high, which also means that this is a time in which the stakes are higher for non-compliant districts. So that's why we're focusing on compliance and also on that which will help teachers save time, climb out from under the onerous burden of reporting, and be more actualized in their professions. And one of the core things that can both rescue our students from this academic and neurodevelopmental debt and help the teachers thrive and be more satisfied in their jobs is real-time progress monitoring. It helps the students and the teachers, and then of course helps the district be more compliant. So John Hattie showed, as we know, that the largest effect size for student outcomes is collective teacher efficacy. And a cornerstone for special educators is progress monitoring. And especially with real-time progress monitoring, the teacher is aware, on the one hand, when they're on the positive side, when things are going well, when there's success, and that's very satisfying to the teacher. And on the other hand, when there are students or goals that are lagging behind, being able to see and know in real time is extraordinarily important to deliver just-in-time interventions and to know when there's potential for a parent to end up being surprised later and be combative. So we want to avoid that. And so progress monitoring is key, and setting judicious goals and monitoring them until students achieve is absolutely crucial. But it's something that's been left open as this gaping hole for teachers, and in terms of what products are out there. There are many IEP products, but they don't address this part. And that's why we listen to thousands of teachers, and as sort of a brain and mental health scholar turned education technology inventor, I really went out there and interviewed and surveyed thousands of teachers and directors and administrators and asked what were the biggest pain points, what do they need the most? And that's the context and rubric within which I invented fastIEP. So today we're absolutely delighted to be here with other members of my very earnest team to discuss and to help you assess whether fastIEP could be of benefit to your district and then hopefully to adopt it. So let's talk about some hard data and some even harder questions.
So Dr. Sahin, I just want to make a couple quick comments. You've been talking about for a long time the importance of progress monitoring. And one of the things I'm always preaching about is probably the most important thing we can do for children in the IEP process is to monitor progress. And as you've indicated, this is an area of opportunity of growth for us as an area of education nationwide. And so, one of the things I want to talk about real quick is a recent study that, you mentioned, where you found that almost 40% of teachers of special education don't record IEP progress at all. So when reporting time comes around at the end of the quarter, they are in the position of trying to remember each student's progress on each goal. And of course, they don't have the formal documentation. Why is this a problem, and what can administrators of special education do about this issue?
Yes, well, thanks. And you see the data on screen, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So wonderful. So yeah, we surveyed hundreds of teachers around the country, and we were really surprised to find, we knew we should expect something, but boy, we were surprised to find that almost 40% do not monitor IEP goal progress at all. Wow. And many others, it's not very frequent, and therefore they have to rack their brains when it comes to reporting time and try to remember how each student did on each respective goal. And these goals are locked in binders. It's a lot of work. They're already doing so much work, borrowing time from their own families. It's difficult. Data collection is difficult, but wow, it's really not being done. And that means the data can't possibly be accurate. And according to the Supreme Court ruling of Endrew F, since you need to demonstrate documentation towards progress monitoring, that puts districts at great risk of some very significant non-compliance.
So, Dr. Sahin, for me, this data is truly shocking. We know there's opportunities for growth, and we know there are areas where sometimes we struggle or we get overwhelmed. But 40% is just a shocking number to me. And then I also think of, nearly every district that I'm aware of in the country is using some form of IEP software. So if we're using software and we have all of this capacity, why aren't we seeing improvements in progress monitoring, tracking this data, and then housing this data within these systems? Why aren't they solving it?
Well, it's a good question. And like I say, when I asked so many educators out there, what are the deep needs? This is when we discovered that there's this gaping hole around progress monitoring. And so when we're asking hard questions today, one hard question is, are you compliant? Do you believe that you're compliant, or could there be complacency? We have IEP software, that's fine. Well, it turns out there are many pieces of software that address district needs, but leave teachers out in the cold a good bit. And that piece down in this graphic in the lower right is this data collection. And you might see names of other software in the other quadrants that you're used to: Goldbook, Easy IEP, the various state-based systems, PowerSchool. But they don't allow the teachers on a daily basis to collect the data and document the progress, write annotations, and do it in real time, and then get automatic graphs. If you have software of these and others on that list, ask yourself, do your teachers still use paper? Do they write things down on Post-it notes, on ledgers, or in cumbersome spreadsheets, and then copy all the data into your SPED or your other system? If they do, that's where we are. It's where we operate as a sweet spot. And if you think about it, there's just this little quadrant here. Oh yeah, so you author the IEP, you collect data, you do reporting, and then review and see what should be the next year's IEP. It's like they're all equal, but they're not. That authoring happens during 1 week out of the year, and reporting happens, a couple nights, 4 times a year, let's say. But the data collection happens every day. And that's the part the teachers have to do, and they're doing on paper. So this is an everyday thing. That's this huge burden. And if we solve that piece, teachers are happier, the students do better, and the parents are less combative. That's why it's been an open hole. That's why we got in there to address it. It's so important for the development of the brain. So important.
So, all of this sounds completely amazing. And let me also back up, and one, I want to thank Phyllis and Dr. Sahin for having me here. And just as a caveat, I'm an individual advocate. I don't work for CASE. I don't work for Easy Fast IEP, any organization, that's here today. And I'm just here as a passionate special educator. So let me ask though, Dr. Sahin, again, this capacity sounds amazing, but I've seen a lot of tools that districts have been presented and the teachers don't always take to it, or it just doesn't get done and it becomes an unused tool. So tell me a little bit about, why would fastIEP work, or why does it work, and why are teachers using it to actually advance our approaches in progress monitoring?
Well, we believe in data, so we apply data at this level too. We did experiments asking the question, will teachers like this, and what do they want most? So we don't just provide this, sell this to districts. We decided to also allow it for teachers directly. So teachers can join fastIEP and buy it with their own money. And for a teacher with their scarce money to buy something, it's probably of value. And so we put that out there and watched so that we could learn what are the most valuable things, and would this be something that teachers actually want, not just get foisted upon them by a district for compliance sake. Well, happy to say that already 10,000 teachers have become our customers independently on their own speed, not through their districts. And that was just mostly during the latter half of this school year. So we're going to expect a bigger bulge in the fall. So this is an accelerating surge because it addresses their needs, saves them time, gives them satisfaction, and helps avoid these kind of surprises later, and it kind of writes the core of their reports for them, the hard part, the graphs, the data. And you just enter data once. You're not recopying it from paper into a spreadsheet, recopying it into a district software, and then. It's all at once, and it's only once. So you can be assured that actually this is not just about compliance. Your teachers will love it, and then you can feel good as a district and good for your teaching team. But speaking of feeling good as a district, let's remember to ask ourselves these questions. Do you know, as we asked in the beginning, do you know that your special ed teachers are monitoring progress? How do you know which ones are doing it more than others? How do you know when a student is really falling behind and might see you in due process later? How do you know these things with data in real time, not just at report time or at the end of the year? Those are important questions. And of course, they're the questions that fastIEP addresses directly. And then disproportionality. How do you know if some students are ending up with more behavioral goals instead of academic goals, or the teachers are focusing on those goals? Or how do you know if some students are getting a lot more of the teacher's attention and engagement and progress monitoring, and others are getting left behind? Again, you get all the data and all the reports, so you can ask those questions and know about them before they become sticking points. But anyway, so this is what I'm saying. Don't take my word for it. We have talked to those thousands of teachers, and now we have 10,000 customers, and they write to us glowingly. So we've chosen one testimonial here that's actually a district administrator. I think it fits well with this gathering, but she's also channeled what her teachers told her. So I think, Jim, you have that video. Is that right?
fastIEP has been a huge blessing. It has made their workday a lot smoother. It has helped them, it has reduced their stress in the fact that they know that they're getting their documentation done and they're not having to wait till the end of the day, because if they wait till the end of the day, they don't know what's happening at the end of the day, and maybe that documentation didn't get done, and then the next day they completely forgot about it, so then that documentation didn't happen that day. But it has been very, very awesome. When my teachers came to me and they're like, I think we found something, and I'm like, why can't you just do what I'm asking you to do? And I'm actually grateful because they put in the research to find something, and I was thankful and grateful for it. And so now I'm extremely happy with it. So there really wasn't any training involved. You know what I mean? Like, they went in, we taught them how to put in the parents never even put in goals before or helped with that, process. And now they know how to write a goal. And the lead teacher was able to do it. It has been the easiest program by far that we have ever used on this campus. I can, say that 100%. We are about simplifying our program, and because we're going paperless too. And so that's a huge ordeal, because the paras went from writing everything, to clicking a button. So that makes a huge difference, huge. And it eases my stress because I know that we are getting the data that we need. That's what is most important to me, that we have the documentation and the data, so we know that our kiddos are growing and they're getting somewhere, so it's awesome. I've really enjoyed it thoroughly. I've enjoyed watching the teachers and the paras use it too. With fastIEP, it is not only fun because it is so colorful and it is all right there. You almost want to get on it just to see, just to look at it and use it, because you can see the progress right in front of you, and doing it on paper, you can't see that. So, it really is visually stimulating, and that instant gratification. I think that's another reason why the paras really like it and the teachers like it, because they they're not seeing any progress from their documentation that they take whenever they were writing it down. You know, they didn't, it just doesn't, it doesn't give them the same kind of feeling. Like, I'm confident in us using it and it getting done. Like, I've never had that kind of relief before, that all of the documentation and the data was being collected, because I would have to go back and check it, and it would be in 100 different places, you know what I mean? And because I have a pretty big team, and so each one of them have different drive files and this and that, and you know, and all I have to do is log into fastIEP and it's all right there. And so I'm like, whew, you know, I'm telling you, all the way around, y'all are doing a good job. You have a great crew of people. Like, your program is going to go somewhere just because of how you're reaching people. Like, it's pretty amazing how fast. And like, honestly, the only program that has actually reached out to educators to want to build the program. You know what I mean? Like, it makes a huge difference when the creator and the CEO wants our opinion, because that doesn't happen very often. So, you know, doesn't happen hardly at all. So, I mean, it's refreshing and it's encouraging. So thank you very much.
One of my biggest takeaways from what Jennifer said, and kudos to her for listening. You know, one of the things she said was, they brought it to me and I was like, oh, one more thing maybe. But, you know, special ed administrators have so much coming at them from so many different directions. So kudos to Jennifer for listening and investigating and checking out the resources for her teachers. What a great story. What a great story. Mm-hmm.
Agreed, and thank you. And well, I hope attendees got excited by that video. I'm excited, and I hope you want to see it. So let's take a quick look over here. And of course, do follow along. I think the URL is in the chat. So anytime you want to find out more information, and hopefully just sign up for us to contact you, that's at fastiep.com/case. Really easy, fastiep.com/case. And I'm sure that's in the chat now. I can't see it. So there, confirm that you can see my screen. Someone else on the panel? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, wonderful.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we heard from Jennifer, right? It's colorful, right? It's big, bulbous, candy-like pieces for interaction. That's important. You're in the classroom. There's a lot of neuroscience to this. There's a lot of visual psychology to this, but there's also really practical work. You're in the classroom, one kiddo's biting you, another one's escalating, about to set everyone else off. Out of the corner of your eye, you can reach over to an iPad or a Chromebook or whatever, and just click with your left hand. When I say click, each one of these tiles is a goal. They're not locked in those binders. Each one is a goal. You can see the goal, you get used to it by the color, by the icon, by, of course, the verbiage and the category. And as I switch between students, I see the different goals. I get used to them, I know where they are, I know how to log them and take data. Taking data, documenting progress is a single click. So this is Maya Angelou. A lot of these goals I wrote, they're autobiographical from her story. But let's go down here. We have behavioral goals, and we have self-advocacy, and we have academic goals. So let's go to math reasoning, and I'll just click and log data. It's a yes/no question because of how we orchestrate formatting the SMART goals. So it comes down to, on an individual event, yes or no, person performed at that threshold. So let's say yes, and the data, boom, the point is logged. And so that's going to go directly into the database. I don't need to write down the time and place and classroom and everything else and start making a chart. It's making a chart for me. Now, if you notice, there was a little slider here on the side, and we've just gone up to 60%. That's towards threshold. If I get to the threshold for that observation period, then I will have success in one more observation period. That's how this tracking works. Visual reminder constantly of your progress, and sort of a little bit of gamification. Log again, and say no. And now that slider is going to come down a little bit. But now also there was this screen where I can add something. I can add a note or a video or whatever I like. I could add a photo or video of an event, or even a video of myself, giving myself a little touch point for later. Or I can write in a note here. Okay, and let's say I'm done. Now, that doesn't just get locked, maybe again on paper or something like that. No, that's in our system, but that's also in real time becoming part of the chart. Let's go over to data and charts for this student, and that data point is right there in those real-time charts. I'll switch down and then come back up, but this is that element, that goal-related event. Math reasoning, there was the no, there was the yes, and there was some I did before. And so if I click that note, there it is. I'm joining this webinar. If I had a video or a picture, it would be right there. It's this real time. Here's a cool real-time thing. These are sentences that incorporate the entire goal, auto-generated, and all the data. So if a parent says to me, well, how's my son doing on this one goal? I just go here and copy it to the clipboard and send that out. That sentence includes the current date, the percent progress against the annual review date, and so on and so forth. It's all right there. Yeah, and then I want to see these data, including these really spiffy charts, which are pretty hard to make on your own for an IEP report. I just click this button and I'll get a PDF mailed to me. Done. Now, there are a whole bunch of other features here. We don't have time, but hopefully you'll sign up on that website for a little more information and to adopt it. I'll point out another thing, which is that you get, as a district, the district level reporting features, so you can find out who's doing what, when, and I'll share that. That looks like this briefly, and we'll sit here and talk about what comes next for you. But this is the kind of data you get, a dashboard as to how your district is going, who is doing what with your teachers, and you can dive into specific teachers or students or goals. All right, so that's a little tease. Hopefully you're excited, and the pathway from here. Jim, do you just want to talk a little bit about the pathway and URL for folks?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are interested, we would definitely love to hear from you. I've put the URL in the chat a few times. It's the one that you can see above all of our heads. And that will actually let you go and interactively find out roughly how much it would cost to implement fastIEP in your district. And all we need to know is approximately the number of students on IEPs in your district. It's a very simple pricing model, and it calculates things like volume discounts. But please do contact us as well, because there are always other discounts available for multi-year contracts, and we do some grants. So yeah, it's
yeah, and we've heard it's very reasonably priced. We're like an order of magnitude less than Goal Book, and we do all these things that teachers actually love. You can ask your teachers whether they like Goal Book, and I know the answer. So yeah, so it's reasonable when it's priced per student on IEPs, and so it's unlimited number of teachers and so forth. So yeah, please, you'll see something on your screen. If you signal your interest, we'll contact you and get this started. Integration is very easy. We integrate with your existing systems, data systems that you have, pull in your goals and your teachers and so forth. And what else? We work with your IT system for that. Yeah, it just goes very fast, the integration. And we do PD for free. So we'll teach your teachers. And luckily it's very easy to use, and it embeds kind of micro PD inside the interface. But we believe in PD, so that comes for free, and then we get you up and running. Hope you're really excited about it.
Yeah, we're just at time, but as I put in the chat, we are going to stay on to answer your questions. And we received a lot of questions in the Q&A, and also we have some participants with their hands raised. So we'll start there. Neha, would it be possible for you to unmute our hand raised participants, or one at a time?
I actually think she just dropped off.
Oh, she must have had to go. I'm
Yes.
really sorry about that. Well, in
Okay.
that case,
One second, someone just raised their hand.
someone else raised their hand. Okay.
All
And
right,
Susan,
go ahead, Susan.
you're on the air. No, Larry King. We can unmute you.
I think we have some that people have written we can address as well.
Yeah, let's just see if we can.
There was one question that I would like to address. I don't know if it was really a question or a statement, where it talked about teachers are not, special education teachers were not provided planning time. And I would really encourage, if there are teachers on or administrators on that are not providing that for their teachers, that to strongly encourage them to go back and reschedule so that that is provided. In many states, that's a state law that teachers must be provided that same planning time as their colleagues. And if that's not being done, it should be scheduled in there. If you're a teacher, I would encourage you to appropriately advocate with your administrator for that time, so that you do get time to plan and you do get time for your data collection. And if you're an administrator, I would encourage you to be checking with each of your teachers to ensure that they're building that into their schedule. I think it is very important. And given where we are with teacher shortage, and we really want our teachers to be happy in their work and satisfied. So it is a requirement that we provide that, and we should all be doing it.
Well, thank you for that, Phyllis, and that's an important point of advocacy coming from your lofty position, and it's important to hear. And I'll just dovetail on this, the teacher retention and attrition issue, as I said earlier, but that's deeply important to me. I mean, I see the mental health repercussions of the issue, not just the administrative and cost repercussions. So it's of deep personal importance for me and our team to help keep teachers happy and satisfied and doing what they do best. And that's teach, and that's really model good behavior and good social emotional learning and mental health for those students. And when they have time and they have time for their own family, they do, of course, better as humans. So that's really important.
So quick question, Jim. I know there's some written questions that have been written in, and I know we have some limited time here. Did you still want to address some of those, or what are you thinking at this point?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We got some good audience questions. I see one from Connecticut saying they have a new IEP system called CTSEDS, which would seem to be a state provided system. And yeah, we certainly integrate with a lot of state provided systems. We're now doing a project in Maryland where they have something called Maryland Online IEP. We've done integrations with SEIS, SEIS in California, Go IEP in Georgia. So yes, in general, most of these platforms, we can find a way to integrate with them so that you don't duplicate any kind of data entry. We can just pull the data from that system, and you don't have to do a lot of manual data entry. So,
absolutely. Yeah, on the question of existing software, I mean, both points are important. One, that we integrate with existing software systems, and then a reminder that even if you think, oh, well, we have IEP software, it's often for the IEP, creating that document and some other aspects of the life cycle. But usually the teachers are still writing things down and using spreadsheets and spending a lot of time on that. And then it's very spotty. And if it's hard to do, well, realistically, what's that behavior going to look like? So if we make it easy, it's more likely that the teachers will record the data in real time and be able to monitor and see who's doing how well. And then that benefits everyone. So we want to make it easier for them so they're more likely to do what, if they had infinite time, they would do.
So Dr. Sahin, if I can also just make one quick comment, kind of from the vantage point as an advocate for special educators as well as children, is that, whether you're a new teacher, a long-term teacher, often it's like drinking from a water hose. There's so much and so many priorities. And And one of the things that I think all great teachers have to learn pretty quickly is you have to prioritize. And, for me, the first thing, you got to take care of the health, well-being of the children. Always and at all times, that has to be first and foremost. When it comes to special education compliance and all these issues, progress monitoring has to be number one. And it's not something, I keep reflecting on the 40% study you talked about. It is not something that we can opt out of, ignore, or not do, because it is truly the most educationally impactful area as well as legally compliant. It is bar none the most important substantive area. So I just appreciate your focus on the issue of progress monitoring, but it has to be a top priority.
Thank you. Yes, top priority. Sometimes priorities are there because of importance or emergent quality, or because they're the easiest thing to do. We might do something first because it's the low-hanging fruit. My goal is to make sure that this is all three, right? That it's top of mind, it does all the reminding, and even has gamification built in to make it both fun and rewarding and motivational to do this, and easy. I think part of the difference between a teacher who's veteran and teachers just getting into it is there's so much more to learn in the beginning, right? And so we don't want to make this something hard to learn, how to go through 7 different drop-down menus and pick out this little feature that's kind of hidden. No, everything is right there. You're seeing the interface again. It's colorful. It feels like what we're used to in the classroom, and there's a reason for that. It's, the brain is a low-pass filter, so this helps because this is just the filtrate, the needed, necessary information, all visually presented, and in a way that helps with sort of the mnemonic of the task of progress monitoring. So it's not onerous anymore. It's easy, and it's kind of fun to watch these charts just magically create themselves and be able to get a PDF anytime, especially right before a report is due, and to watch as your students progress.
Excellent. I just wanted to jump in. We are getting a lot of questions about integrations with specific platforms in specific states or commercial platforms like PowerSchool or eSPED. Obviously, there's not enough time here to address every single individual one. We're trying to answer in the Q&A in text. Our team behind the scenes is providing you with those answers. But the quick answer is that we have yet to encounter a system that we couldn't integrate with. And that's everything from the commercial systems to the state provided systems. And we would start by just having a meeting and looking into the specific system you're using. Usually we'll have an IT contact on your end, talk to us, and it's usually a very quick process.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes, we've got it. It's part of the integration package. It's folded into the reasonable price. You don't have to pay extra for that. You don't have to pay for the PD and this and that. We get it done and fast. So just know that will happen. One reason is we do a lot of the data. We do our own work with the data to give you this answer of essentially progress, but we don't need too much data. We need the name of the student and some maybe unique identifier of that student. And we pull it in and do our work and send it out. The one thing that makes everything really convenient is to be able to take your roster, your teachers, students, and their goals, and they come in reasonably formatted in most cases. So it's actually really easy. In some sense, we're very light. But yes, we'll integrate with your platforms. Don't worry about that.
And another question we got, Dr. Sahin, is about data compliance and privacy compliance, FERPA, and those sorts of things. Could you speak to that?
Yes, absolutely. So we've signed multiple of these student data privacy agreements. And in that way, it's kind of covered all in one fell swoop. So we can forward those to you. And this is where councils have thought deeply about what is important and required for compliance, and we've complied with their rules so that we're in these data privacy agreement consortia, and it addresses what's needed. I'll point out, for instance, students don't even log in, only the teachers do, so like COPA is not really relevant, but the ones that are relevant, we make sure that we are keeping your data safely and won't get your district or anyone into trouble.
And I'll put a link in the chat with that will take you to a page that describes compliance in detail. See, I think we have answered most of the questions out there. Yeah, any final thoughts, Phyllis or Kurt?
I would just like to say thank you again for sharing a great resource for our staff, as you can see, or for our members and our colleagues out in the field. They're very interested. You have a great program, and I know that as people watch this or view the recording, they will get more and more information, and would really encourage them to check you out. So thank you, Dr. Sahin and Dr. Hulett, for all that you've done today for the field and special education, and your staff as well, who have been on the line answering questions and coordinating the webinar. So thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. And it's an honor to be a member and a partner with CASE, do such important and tremendously important work. And you bring together people who are out there doing so and create a common voice and community. That's so important. Yeah, well, thank you again. And let's speak individually. Hopefully everyone who's still on this is obviously engaged and interested. I hope none of you has passed up the opportunity to fill out that one-line form to put your information and have us contact you. That's at the fastIEP URL. And we're really looking forward to continuing the conversation and helping empower your district and empower the teachers, who empower the students, keep the whole cycle running, and help us empower people with different kinds of minds to thrive.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.